This episode of the Closeout Bodyboarding podcast is proudly presented to you by limited edition fins. Shane, I've always wanted to know, what's the big difference between the original limited edition fins and the new Psylocke fins?
Benny, the Psylocke fins are bigger and wider than the original LE foot pockets. So basically when you try them on, they'll actually be a size up. Psylocke's fit really well in half sizes to the original fins. So I used to not be able to fit into the larges in the original LE fins, but I fit perfectly into the Psylocke large. So I just recommend everyone, if you weren't comfortable in the original LEs, go in and try on a new Psylocke's.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. Back to you in the studio. Welcome back to the Closeout Bodyboarding podcast. I am your host for this evening's episode, Benny O'Bourne, coming to you live from my small corner office down in beautiful Apollo Bay, Victoria. Really important episode this evening, and something that I genuinely felt we kind of needed to get on top of pretty quick. Fresh off the press, I'm joined by two of the hardest working men in bodyboarding here in Australia. Straight off the back of, again, an incredibly successful event, the 2025 Shark Island Challenge. Sadsy and Lukey, welcome back to the potty, mate. It's good to see you guys. How are you?
Thanks for having us, Benny.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We are good. We are settled on our lounge with our cups of tea. We're relaxed for once for a very long time.
Yes. I guess first and foremost, I personally just want to acknowledge you both for the huge success of the event across the board. I'm still in the doghouse with my wife for basically spending the entire day sitting in front of my multi-screen computer, basically one with chats with all the boys, just with our own little live updates, and the other one just watching the webcast. But everything seemed like it came together again. And I guess when you look and reflect on last year's, which was also a success, it just felt like this year was just another step above again. How are you guys feeling about it?
Sadsy, you want to share your experiences and feelings, mate?
Yeah. I'm feeling really good, feeling very overwhelmed with everyone's positivity. We feel like we made the correct changes. Some things are very minimal, some were maximum, but we got there, and we're pretty proud of our efforts. It's good knowing, like we were already talking the other day about things we can still change on, but overall we feel accomplished, and we're really stoked on everyone's support.
Massively. Hey, Benny, just to add on to Sads, what has just gone on about then, the biggest thing for me, Sam and Sads, after 2024 was, okay, we know we can run an event. How can we improve on that event? And the feedback given was pretty obvious. It was, touched on this in the last couple of potties, but again, one of the main ones was the broadcast and making sure that the comp site adhered to council's not strict regulations, but just regulations. And we worked in with the local community to make sure all those stakeholders, i.e. the residents of the area, were appeased with the event too. But yeah, with the broadcast, man, just so happy. The change up in direction when it came to following the riders all the way through their waves, giving constant replays, allowing the audience at home to feel what was happening on the headland in real time or out in the island in real time, and just giving a really good experience. Because there's only so many people that can be down at the point. So you can give that out into the wide world web and let everyone have a little slice of it. I think it's going to go a long way. We've already got better numbers from last year on the live stream, so hopefully they keep on going up. But yeah, just to echo Sadsy's words, we're really proud on the things that we improved on. And then what the athletes did too, 4 to 5 foot, maybe there was 6 footer. But each one of them had to bring something unique to the table, and it wasn't just fitness. It wasn't just barrel riding. It wasn't just air games. It was just all round, strategic nous to kind of get it done. And yeah, crazy to see a 62-year-old do that, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, all around just an epic comp, man.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more. And look, I guess just to briefly run over some of the topics that I want to cover in today's episode. I think there's a lot of epic battles to break down. On top of that, there's the wave of the day. There's, the first ever standalone women's division, which was a huge success. But then just the growth in the, not just the local community, but also the bodyboarding community that got behind it. Like you said, your numbers are up with the webcast. I noticed that as a viewer, you could just see how many people were dialed in, and just that chat, that live chat throughout the event was super positive. It was just beaming with energy. It was epic.
For men, yeah, I think that chat was actually hilarious at times, and the way you would see Brendo continually interact backwards and forwards with it. That's the one thing I've really got to take my hat off to Brendo with that. Hey, Sads, like he was so quick to be onto it, and it was something that I'd kind of overlooked and not really thought about so much. And then when he tapped into it and was just relaying the messages back from the lounge rooms, which you were speaking about, it gave that extra essence of kind of reality, so to speak. So it was really cool.
You made a comment, I think it was about Grizz in his first heat, that he'd been on the scaffolders diet or something like that, the chalky milk diet. Was Brendo on the same thing? He was just buzzing.
And again, like knowing the little inside jokes, working with these guys for a number of years and watching them surf and growing up and having them as really heroes, you know anything inside and out. So then Grizz, one of the greatest big wave Australian bodyboarders of all time, if not internationally, when he was on those waves, you just know, the last past 10 years of his life, so to speak. So, like from an outside looking in, I'm not saying personally, but just all the innuendo and inside jokes were flowing, and Brendo's laugh was just infectious too on that thing. So it was great just to be
for sure
sitting next to him, man. You could hear him from a mile away. It was like the cackle of all cackles.
I remember on that, we were up at like 5 a.m. on the day of the comp, and we're all texting, checking the charts, making sure everything's smooth. And we got to site at like 6 a.m. And Brendo's laugh, it's like
it's a hyena.
Oh, mate, we're saying it's like, when a rooster just goes off, but you love that noise, right? Like it's a real nice, natural noise that you love. But other people, it's like, we're in the middle of Cronulla in all apartment blocks. Other people just go, "God, the fuck!" And I'm just, his laugh is contagious. And he laughs, you laugh, he laughs again, then you laugh again. And it's just this positive energy that, it's just, from 6 a.m. we were like, yeah. It was really, really good. I love it.
Man, he's like a nuclear power plant of energy. Like it's just constantly beaming. They don't know what to do with it half the time. It's that good.
Let's get stuck into a bit of an overview of the event. Just a couple of big questions I got for this. First one is, from your perspective, like what made the 2025 Shark Island Challenge different or special? I mean, it's special. There's nothing you have to say about that, but what made it different and kind of that next level above? I know you touched on it before, in terms of things you look to improve on from last year, but on the day, what did it feel like for you guys that made it that extra notch in the belt?
It's a good question, eh? That's a very good question. I mean, from my point of view, I'm sure Sads and Sam would also have their own points of view on this, but it just felt like we were more experienced, we were ready, and we were confident in our abilities to kind of do what we wanted to do, and we weren't just running around with our heads cut off. Like, last year, I stayed on the commentary the entire time, which was a huge deficit, leaving Sads on, to run the whole comp site while Sam was doing media work and photography work out in the channel. So then it's like, we knew that needed to be tinkered and changed with, and the things we put in place with rosters and extra staff in certain areas and just having more manpower behind us, freed us up, and we were a lot more casual on the day. And working in with Surfing New South Wales a lot this year and having them as the backup with extra tents, extra staff pickets, tables, chairs, hooters, scoring systems, really quality staff through Ryan and Jim who, shout out to those fellas that they know exactly who they are, and they've worked on a lot of bigger events in the Surfing New South Wales calendar and knew what it took to bring together a pretty high class event. So yeah, just those sort of things. It just felt comfortable. We just felt confident, and it felt like we had the backing of the riders a little bit more this year, and there wasn't so much uncertainty, especially for 3 small business owners in the Shire who had never run a bodyboarding event in their life, let alone international bodyboarding one. So I think, there was just a bit more respect and confidence, and it oozed out through the entire day from all 3 of us, really.
Yeah, definitely. That's my exact word, Luke, was going to be confidence. Like we had more manpower, and everyone's knew their role and is really good at their role. So that made us more relaxed. Obviously, shit still happens and stuff, but we were more confident, obviously having done it before this time. You're not experienced in any sense, but definitely more confident with everyone in their roles and having more staff, and especially even the judging team. They had a new computer analyst being Ryan on Surf New South Wales that Luke was talking about, and he's a gun, and he ran the trials for us. So the trials was a trial for the event as such, on like a smaller scale, but it was a real good like practice run, and it went so seamless. So it was really good to have that.
Epic.
I agree. The trials was a great little taste tester, and it was almost a good taste tester for us to move forward with Surfing New South Wales. Hopefully in the coming years, they want to try and parcel up a package of the Shark Island trials and the state titles and everything together all in one. So, we felt like it just wasn't, moving forward with the comp. It was also really good networking there too. So yeah, and you just realize, not to harp on about these points and to move on with the potty, but like you realize that there is a deeper network out there, throughout surfing and through action sports and through different parts of Sydney. And it's a big place, but it's a small place. And then you start connecting the dots. And when you've got those, as Sad was saying, those key contractors in place from those different walks of life, it just makes things so much easier. Like Chris Smith, for example, on the directing and production side of things, like along with Trent Beatty from Sporting News and all the crew there, like he's a wizard, and he was just, operating 5 different screens at once and making sure that everything was covered in that broadcast, and having an expert like that instead of the contractors last year who were still very good at what they did, but weren't experience in surfing or bodyboarding coverage. It was just those points. So to Sad's points, it's just the key people in those places and finding the networks to make sure that you can access those people, freely and easily.
I think what's really important with that connection with Surfing New South Wales, and the same rule applies with all other bodyboarding organisations across Australia. Surfing needs bodyboarding just as much as bodyboarding needs surfing from a governance and administrative perspective. And that's for key data purposes, but it's also for just growth, development and understanding. At the end of the day, I think in a dream world, we'd all love to separate that ego and stigma between the sports. Unfortunately, it'll never happen. But as long as we can all accept that, we're all working towards the same goal, then it's a perfect relationship. I know Chris, who generally sits on our potty, he's actually part of the board of directors at Surfing Vic. So he's the only bodyboarder that sits on a board of directors with any Surfing Australia network, which is huge. I'd love to see that kind of grow across the rest of the country. I'd love to see someone from a bodyboarding background to take a seat at Surfing New South Wales, same in Queensland and same in WA, because
true.
Yeah, if we don't have people that are willing to actually be involved in those conversations, then that progress is never really going to reach its full potential.
So true. You know what's amazing, Benny? A person who was keen to be involved in that conversation, probably one of the greatest slab hunters of all time, and Nathan Florence, and he was happy to come on to the live broadcast as a conduit really between surfing and bodyboarding to narrow that gap and to show people that there is this symbiotic relationship between the two crafts and, the people who utilize them in the ocean, and that there's not this big disconnect. It should be learning off one another, exactly as you just highlighted in those administrative and governance roles throughout those organizations. And Nathan Florence, just in, a lifestyle, hellman kind of action sport way, is showing in his free surfing and just his general presence in the lineup that that's the way we should be acting. So it was such an honor to have him on. It's such an honor for the man just to give up his time freely and come on the broadcast with literally 24 hours notice and just do it. He's such a lord, and can't say enough nice things about him, eh?
Mate, he genuinely looked like he was having a great time. Like he really did. Yeah. Again, I don't think he did it, as a duty. Like I think he really wanted to be there. Like you said it perfectly. He's a waterman. He's a people person. He's not focused on his own craft and his own success. Like he's really inclusive in everything he does. And I think that's amazing. And I think the feedback that you guys will get from just having him on the podcast and webcast will be huge. So well done on that, guys.
Shout out to Kip Caddy.
Yeah.
The man has good connection.
Also another really humble, big ball dude.
Yeah, definitely. And helped out with water safety all day.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sadie.
Yeah. He was in the water straight away. His missus was actually running one of the live stream cameras on the back of the ski all day. And they, very, very helpful in every way.
Yeah, I've had the great honour of spending time with both Nate and Kip down here in my backyard in Southwest Victoria on a few occasions, which is pretty cool. The next question I want to ask about is the conditions. Like, how do you guys see that the island delivered this year? Completely different kind of conditions compared to last year, but boy, did its thing, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. We probably 4 times, I think we were like 85% going to run, but nothing had the movement like this ECL did. And we know what the ECLs do here. We know they come in big, they come in heavy, and we know it will always stay with an easterly flow through it when it's sitting above Sydney. So there's no chance, even no matter what the charts read, we know it's going to have some east bite to it. And then obviously, it was here for like 5 days. We just have to wait and pick the best day of the wind, because even if it's 4 foot, you just got to get the winds good, because the swell's good, the period's good, everything else is good. So we ummed and ahed a while about picking the best day of winds, which was the Friday. It would have been great if the best winds fell on the Saturday. And then also we have to have the best winds over 7 hours. So people say, oh, Thursday was good. Yeah, but Thursday was good for 2 hours. Day before was good for 1 hour. Like, it's our job, not yours.
Lukey, are you on the same page with me here? Like, I think Sadsy needs to have his own little weather report kind of segment on the local news, right?
Oh, mate, for sure. Get him on the morning. He's got that beard look at the moment, so you look great in a suit, and maybe. What
do you reckon? The beige suit on, morning sunrise.
Yeah, floral tie, like looking really nice with the sunrise in the background.
I probably don't have I don't have the big words, or it doesn't flow off my tongue very well, but I've definitely got the research and the knowledge to try and read what's best for the conditions on the day. But yeah, going back to that, the Friday, the morning, it was like we were losing it. It was 3 knot west southwest, and the chart said that it was staying west southwest for like 6 hours, and then it was going to go light south pending, but super light. And unfortunately, the wind came up very unexpected across every chart, but it was still very highly contestable, and the boys still did exactly what we wanted. So we're definitely happy that it was a competition worth running.
Couldn't ask for much more of the conditions, Benny, really, when, as Saz just mentioned, you had that beautiful ECL forming out in the Tasman. The way it did form higher than Sydney, it obviously was going to have an easterly aspect to it, and not the same as 2024, where that southerly low kind of came up from underneath Tasmania and entered our swell window. That's obviously going to have too much of a southerly aspect to it. So this year we're really confident having that nice easterly aspect, high tide in the afternoon, light south winds throughout the day. And you kind of need it on day 5 or 6 of that swell period to have the swell kind of be rule aligned out a little bit, almost like kind of cleaned out compared to the last 3-4 days where it was just very aggressive, pumping swell, but very disjointed, and it doesn't work so well at the island when you have 2 different swell lines coming together. You can, out of 1 out of 10 waves, you will have an easterly peak meet up with a southerly peak, and they'll come together and form one line. But generally, you want to be surfing the island on a very clean swell that's well lined out so it wraps along the reef. So by Friday, that was happening. And so the biggest feedback that really heightened Sam, Mark and myself's ears was the feedback from the riders on the morning. And as Sads did allude to, unfortunately, the wind came up a little bit earlier than expected, literally right when the broadcast was starting, about 10:15. But Winnie, Liam O'Toole, who else was really keen? Rawlins was super keen. Clevey was keen. Just anyone you were talking to, they were keen to surf it. And so that was one of the biggest highlights of the comp for us. They were keen on the call. They were keen on the swell, and they delivered in spades throughout their performances. So it was, it was just an all-round kind of good team effort and a big weight off our shoulders, knowing that the whole world looks at that comp when we call it on. And obviously, you want to live up to the 8 to 10 foot days, but if you can have it in contestable 4 to 6 foot days and get a 62-year-old to beat some of the world's best out there, it makes for a pretty good story.
Well, mate, this is probably a perfect segue to move on to next topic, which is basically just the competition highlights. And we're going to talk about the winners and the standouts. I mean, no one would have, I don't want to sell the goat out because he doesn't deserve it, but I feel like no one would have put their house on Mike to win this thing, right? Again, yeah, he's a 9-time world champion, but he's 62. Saying that, he's an absolute athlete. He's so fit. He's so connected with the ocean. I mean, you see even all the current stuff of him surfing the Third Reef Pipe, basically linking up with guys like Jamie O'Brien to go duo on some absolute belters. But for him to come back after 20 plus years since the last time he won this event and win it again, you couldn't script that. And that's what makes it the most fairy tale ending for this event. And I know I shot you a text yesterday, Lukey, I watched the high res highlights as I was sitting on my spin bike late at night. And although I'd watched the live webcast basically from start to finish, rewatching it and kind of taking it all in and then seeing the emotion and elation on Mike's face when you announced that he'd won, that's a tear-jerking moment right there, man. It's crazy.
Man, it was such a moment for me actually looking back on it, realising that you had just announced the Shark Island Challenge winner 25 years on, originally winning his first one in 2000, 25 years later winding back the clock as a 62-year-old man, taking out one of the better lineups that I've seen in a fair space of time. When you think about Louis Finnegan and Marley Dunn, who are in there at the moment, technically some of the best bodyboarders in the world, not just in Australia, in the world. Yeah. And then you've got all the different other names in there with, Dave and Toby and just even Johnny Showell and just so many crew in there that could take him out. But, and to even put that aside and then to think comparatively across all other sports, the only one that I could think of would be in our buddy brother sport surfing with Kelly Slater winning pipe a week or so short of his 50th birthday, 49 years old. So Mike's 13 years older technically, and has done it at an equally as gnarly wave as Pipeline and has shown the rest of the world that his longevity and his athleticism and his lifestyle choices are supremely above most other people on the planet. You just can't do that at 62 and beat the rest of the world. So hats off to the GOAT, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually got a couple of good stories about Mike during the day because I was in the operations tent a fair bit doing the RSA marshalling, the marshalling for the rashes with Declan and Banger, some of the local boys. And every heat they'd come over and they'd change, and he was the smile on his face every time he made a heat was he's high-fiving me, cuddling me, going, fuck yeah, I can't believe it. Can't believe I made my heat. Can't believe I made my heat. And every time he'd come in and say that, and in the, when he got through to the semis on a countback, because the top 2 third place getters got through to the countback. So Craig Haddon grabbed me over and goes, Sad, Mike's in the next semi, he's got to stay out there on the boat and change his rash sheet. And so we two-wayed to the boat to Woodall and Cooper and the boys out there being legends helping out a lot. And we said, put Mike on. He made it through on a countback. He's in the next heat. And, oh, Mike, you're in the next heat. He's like, no, I came third, blah, blah. I fucking tell him he's in the next heat. He made it through. I'm like, yeah. And you actually see when the boys are high-fiving him in some of the photos on the boat, that's when he realized that he made it through to the semi. So that was only his quarters, how stoked he was on getting through the quarters. And then I said, keep him out there. There's a rashie out there. Put a different rashie on. And then I'm watching this ski come in. And I'm like, who's on that ski? I thought it was Jack Baker. As Mike's coming in on the ski. But why's Mike fucking coming in on the ski? Why is he coming in on the ski? So I run down on the rock. But Mike, why are you coming in on the ski? He's like, oh, I don't know, man. They said I came third. I'm not sure. Like, I didn't surf that good. I don't know if I'm in or not. I'm like, here's your rashie. You're in the semi. You're back out
there.
And I was standing there with Louis because I was going back out in the semi together. And so really? And they're all like high-fiving on the rocks and stuff. Like the raw stoke that like you get from like an 18-year-old making a heat, you know, the GOAT was like that. And I'm talking quarters. Like imagine how he felt at the end of the final.
Well, I think everyone, naturally saw how he felt. He was in another dimension. I think there was a lot of emotion that he didn't even realize he was attached to. Like there was a definite letting go moment there. I think when you guys crowned him as the champ, it was huge. It was super moving.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was.
It honestly is like I don't want to harp on any further about it, but just to go back to that moment, Benny, like you turn over to the fella and he's looking at you, you know, with the softest, almost puppy dog eyes. You know, and you know this person externally is like one of the greatest bodyboarders of all time and a man who owns Science Bodyboards and has paved the way as a pioneer for the sport. And then you see him have like a emotional breakdown due to the competition that yourself and two of your good mates have helped run. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It was. I remember Luke, when you announced it and then you handed Mike the mic. Benny Williams and Woodall, we had our arms around each other just out of the side of frame. And they're like, I'm going to cry. We can't. I'm like, we can't cry, guys. We can't cry.
Super emotional.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
On the other side of that, and I want to touch a little bit more about it afterwards as well, Sophie Leathers took out the first ever women's division against Rio Clark. They probably had a bit of a trickier final in terms of waves, but boy, did they put themselves on the line. It was really, really good to watch.
Man, I think it was Sophie in the first 45 seconds or minute was on a sidewinder straight off the bat. And I think that was really set the tone for the whole final, especially in Sophie's campaign, because she just went at a bullet. She was like a bull at the gates, you know what I mean? Just went off like a bull in a China store. Benny, mate, just a bull in a China store. And was just loving it, you know what I mean? You could tell she wasn't afraid. She was just happy to push the boundaries out there. And like Rio took like a slightly different approach. It was more kind of focusing on surge, where Sophie was kind of pushing more towards kind of white rock. And it was really cool just to see females attacking that wave for the first time and feeling their way through it. And, you know, I only said to Sophie after, I said, it's so similar to watching the females go back out hype for the first time after, you know, a 20 or 30 year hiatus of not competing out there, and then watching the evolution from there. If the WSL can do it, Shark Island Challenge can do it, the IBC can do it, and I really feel that's the brand we were kind of going for. Like Sam, Mark and myself wanted it to not be this, you know, if it was a great show and it went off with fireworks, that's the cream on top, but it had to be a building point, and the building blocks we feel were put in place after that final.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, your event for the women is definitely a stepping stone of what will naturally progress from here on in. I think what you guys did is almost putting a lot of other event organisers on notice. We have to be more inclusive. We have to give the women that opportunity to basically be at the same level as the guys in terms of pushing the boundaries. And look, I know that from a numbers perspective, that's hard. Naturally, we just don't have the same figures in terms of, I guess, women that are really wanting to be competitive. Don't get me wrong, like the women's bodyboarding community is huge, but a lot of it is connected to like a free surfing kind of mentality. But yeah, after watching those two gals just, drop the hammer, I can't wait to see what happens from here on in.
Dude, definitely. And Sadsy, do you remember that one that Sophie, I think it was her second last wave in the final, she was almost guillotined into non-existence?
Mental.
I know. It was a bit Anthony Miller-esque, actually.
Yeah, it was, head on the chopping block kind of stuff. It was crazy. She literally was like milliseconds away from copping that, It was psycho.
I was really, really impressed with obviously both of them, but Rio's approach. She got the call like 3 days out, flew over from Western Australia, left the kids and husband there. She doesn't know much about Shark Island. She's never surfed it before. And then you're paddling out after Louis, Marley, Jace. Jace just hit the reef, like smashed the side of him, was like seizing up, shaking. And then she's got to go out there with one other girl in front of 80,000 people online and 5,000 people in the headland. Like, she didn't have any hesitation. She was like, fucking, let's go. Like, it was super impressive the way she also, like you said, grabbed the bull by the horns. It was, obviously they didn't get the biggest waves like some of the guys did, but they did have a bit of a dud heat as well in terms of sets.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I was saying in the beginning. It did feel like their heat was a little bit, it just wasn't as consistent as the previous heats.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? It could have been top of the tide too. You know, sometimes when it does reach that high tide mark, you get
exactly what happened.
20 minutes, half an hour kind of thing. So yeah, but just super proud. And Sophie's message that after the days after, just with the elation that she had with winning it, and you know, I just said to her, like, you're pretty much the first and only straight out female Shark Island Challenge champion. So it's pretty cool. And her mum and dad were there, and her boyfriend Alex, and just really good vibes. Couldn't have happened to a nicer, more down to earth person.
Well said.
It's a moment in history that can never be taken away from her.
Yeah, locked in. You are the first Shark Island chick, Sophie. Congratulations.
Let's touch a little bit on some of the rivalries, the upsets, buzzer beaters. I also want to chat about the wave on the wave of the day. And just break down some of those executions on those waves, because it's a very difficult wave to navigate, particularly if you're trying to line up multiple sections of that barrel. From your guys' perspective, I mean, from me as a spectator at home, like there were some, nail clenching moments for sure. I think for me, there was some really big highlights straight from the get-go, like Liam O'Toole. What did you call him? A Viking.
Techno Viking.
Yeah. Man, his core strength, and I know that the term gets probably thrown around loosely in surfing, stories, but his ability to pick the right wave, like that saw him go as deep into the draw as he did.
Yeah. I think also with touching on Liam, he, you got to remember he was in the round one of the trials. So he got through 5 rounds of the trials in like 3 to 4 foot, super messy, like howling onshore conditions, super hard to surf. And he was picking the best one. He got best barrel of comp for sure. He didn't invert. He still surfed the best in 5 heats in the worst conditions. And then to come through again, nail his heat, nail his quarter. They made through to the semi-finals with the main event from the first heat. And he's from Queensland. Like, it's huge accolades. And also we did a urban surf night a couple of weeks ago, and he flew down. So he had to pay his own flight, pay his own accommodation, and urban surf sorted out the waves for us, which was good. But I was like, oh, I don't expect it to come down. He goes, what do you mean? I don't get this opportunity. This is a lifetime achievement. I'm stoked to even be here in round one. Like, yeah, just huge accolades to his commitment to it all.
Yeah, massively. He's an absolute gem, that fella, eh? And couldn't say better things about him, especially from the lineage which he came from up in the Goldie. I know you've had a lot to do with him, Benny Oborn. And surfing snapper behind the rocks at night time for the first time nude together. It was, I know it was a very romantic first surf.
Do I need details here?
Oh, mate, after this call, you will get a lot. It's juicy. But seriously, like just an underground core lord that's always been at the top echelon would be the best way to describe Liam O'Toole. But I guess we can't really, talk about the highlights without mentioning Jace Finlay. Like he's the bodyboarder on everyone's lips at the moment after his ridiculous efforts in the Gold Coast Club this year, all the way to the Teams Challenge, scoring near perfect heats and 10-point rides. And then he's backed it up in an international slab contest with one of the greatest 10-point rides that I've ever seen at that wave. Not because the wave was so incredible. The wave was definitely rapping and warping and doing its thing down the reef. And that's something that is very special about Shark Island. It just throws up that unpredictability. But his ability to adjust, much like Mike in the final inside the barrel, was second to none. Him and Mike were on the same level there, where the way they were weaving, it was Leicester-esque coming through surge. And that 10-pointer that he got it was in the quarter or the semis,
Well, it was pretty early on. I'd say quarter.
I think it was quarter, yeah. Was if you watch the replay, and me and Brendo frothed out over this, and Brendo's a huge fan of Jace, we were going over it meticulously. The way he engages his rail and then can pull all his power from like a very steep, energetic wave face and then drive up into it, readjust, come back down as the wave opens back up again over surge, as it kind of breathes, so to speak. As White Rock, it'll open and then go kind of small again and then open back up, especially in a sideshore kind of scenario, which he had in the quarterfinals. To then come down again, flare, stall, maximize time in the barrel, then come high again and navigate the steps over surge and then squeak out of the top of that little puff of explosion, the breath of last air in that barrel that was rifling off down the reef. And to make it out of that is just, my words don't do it justice. It's really, once you've been in that situation, you try and ride a barrel like that, it's near impossible. And then to do it inside a heat under pressure to keep your campaign going in the contest and make it to the final is out of control. Like Jace Finlay is a generational bodyboarder. He's that good and he deserved that 10-point ride.
Yeah, definitely. In the judging tent, actually, when all the 10s went across, and it was a pretty good feeling, hey. And also a point when Jace came out, he claimed it, right? And Jace isn't really a claimer, you know what I mean? Because like he always does the best stuff. And I said to him, "Oh, what about that claim?" He goes, "Oh, mate, I just came out. It's like I just stared at the boat. Something came over me, and everyone's screaming. I was like, I'm screaming too."
Oh, I just got a little shiver then even thinking about it, because Jace, you can see it in his eyes when he's speaking about things. He's so truthful through his eyes. He's never hiding anything. And it's even when he was explaining to us the end of the day, Sadsy, when before the prezzo was starting, like how he was literally cooked in the corner, could barely move, looked like he almost needed to go to hospital. We just kept him alive for the prezzo. He was still stoked whilst in so much pain. Like you can't get the smile off the bloke.
So can we talk a little bit more about his injury? I think during the webcast, it was because there was so much going on. It was really hard to kind of see what really happened.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure, I'm 95% sure, and this is what was relayed back to me from him. This was also after we'd had a couple of beers during the day, and it was after a long day of competition, so might not be exactly accurate. But the general gist of it is you can see in the semi-final that he bails out of the back of a wave at surge, and I actually remember noting on the broadcast saying to Brendo that he got sucked back over. pretty sure in that moment when he got sucked back over, he went straight down into the bottom. And as you can see him getting sucked back over, he's trying to push his way back out of the face of the wave, but it's forcing him back towards surge, and he goes down on his side and his ass. And supposedly he hits really hard on his ass and his side, really bad bruising, swelling, but then the sciatica and the referred nerve pain that's gone down his leg and up his back pretty much crippled him, but not in the instance of straight away. It was a gradual thing as the inflammation got worse and the swelling got worse, and he probably cooled down a little bit. After his interview on the boat in the semi-final, he then went into shock, he reckons, and then it was really touch and go whether he was going to get back out for the final. He was being advised that if it, by the medical staff out there, that if it was too much, he was not to compete, but then he felt like he had it in him, and then after 10 minutes or so, 15, you can kind of see that he just fades away, and I think the cramps and the pain and the overall the overall crisis his body was experiencing just kind of got the better of him, and then he had to give up. But he got his air reverse and he got his barrel, so that's kind of job done.
Do you know he actually, going back to that, when he went back out in the final, if you see in the final, he gets probably like a 5-6 footer and he does a roll off the end, and it's big and hectic, but the roll, you can just tell something's up with it, like his body doesn't flow with it like he normally would. And then after that wave, he put his hand up to the ski. I remember Dill and Sam were on the ski. They flew in to get him. He full need to pick up. That ski was so close in. But yeah, imagine having nerve pain, not feeling half your body, and then doing a roll on a 5 foot. He landed it too. He rode the wave out.
It'd be like getting shot.
Oh yeah, that's why he just put his hand up. His arm done.
Yeah, just can't do it. But yeah, hats off to his campaign, because he just did everything he wanted to accomplish and got all the way to the final, and almost won another one. So what a freak.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about now the wave of the day. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. You guys obviously look at it from a different point of view. So many great things happened throughout this event.
What do you reckon the best wave of the day was, Benny?
I'm pretty conflicted, to be completely honest.
Because you're a very good analyst, and I know in these group chats that you're in, the ones across various states, various members, that there would have been a lot of chit-chat. What were the crux of it? What was the meat that was getting thrown around in these discussions?
Ultimately it all came down to wave selection, right? There were definitely bigger set waves throughout the day that may not have offered up the biggest barrels, but they gave a section, or they gave a far better shape to kind of, do their art on. But in saying that, like you said, some of those ones that kind of came further onto the inside. And for me, I definitely agree with Jace's being the wave of the day. That's another physics lesson right there. To be able to navigate those multiple sections through constant change. To me, let's be honest, you're kind of almost flying blind in there, right? Like it was chandeliering at the end.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very big, clean, open barrel. That to me was mind-boggling. The other big standout for me was Louis. Just his adaptability across all aspects of the wave, his barrel riding skills, second to none. His ability to, I guess, analyze and pick the section to go large on. And his surfing is just incredibly technical. His technical surfing, for me, definitely stood out above anyone else's in the event.
That spin in the final, hey, Benny, ridiculous.
Yeah. I know, you go, okay, it's a spin, but it's not just a spin.
Not where he did it either, because he got barreled after it. It's like he's used that spin to set himself up and slow down to gain points on the way. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Even the roll that he did, it wasn't much of a section, but the section was dry. It was dry reef. It wasn't, you don't really land rolls on that section. It wasn't boosted or anything, but it was still very technical, very hard to land in that situation.
For sure. And you'll see most rolls, to your point, Sads, on those waves. The ones that you'll see that are beautiful, drawn out and punchy rolls, you'll land in that white water pocket on the surge channel and you'll be going into deep water. You're
Yeah, a
not
bit
landing.
safer. Yeah.
Exactly. And you get pushed out into the channel. You're not landing in the trenches and trying to get out of the trough again.
Actually, Osler did a similar one in one of the earlier heats, I think in his quarter. And yeah, like, when you roll off the start of surge instead of the end, it's like it's a 1 out of 10, mate. Like they're very, very hard to do.
Yeah, the most essentially like powerful part of the wave kind of coming together at the end. It's not the best place to try a roll early.
No, but it's good if you land it.
Hey, I want to move now again just to quickly recap the inaugural women's event. I feel like this needs a lot more highlighting, solely for the fact that it has its place in history now. I mean, we've already covered how it come about in our previous episodes leading up to the event, and we've also touched on the performances of both Rio and Sophie. But moving forward for you guys, I guess what I'm really trying to get out of this is, what do you kind of foresee now moving forward to the 2026 Shark Island Challenge? I mean, the world's your oyster, and I feel like there's going to be a few knocks at your door with more women that are wanting to put themselves on that pedestal and prove their worth.
Yeah, well, I feel the thing is, Luke will have a lot more information on this than I will, but I feel the thing is, there will be knocks on the door. There was a lot of knocks on the door from half the IBC last year. The difference is when it comes to the crunch, like you've got to be available when it happens.
Of course.
And even we checked a lot of availability, and there's a lot of, same with the men as well, actually. There's a lot of backpedaling. So, what I'm saying is, like, you need full commitment, not just want to be keen because of the hype of it. Like we'll have the trials again. There'll be women through the trials again, but it'll just, like, these girls just grabbed it and wanted it from the get-go. So if there's others that want to do that and commit, we're keen to take them all.
Oh, and look, I think the biggest hurdle or roadblock with this is any kind of it's not conflict really, but if there is a World Tour event on in a similar time frame, which there kind of is, that's going to be the biggest prevention. But I can guarantee the world's best would have looked at that event on the weekend and said, damn, I wish that was me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hardest thing with our event, Benny, we've discussed this before, and Mark and Sam and myself have discussed it too. It doesn't hold the weight of a world title, so that's a positive for it, and it's a negative. It's a positive in regards to getting like the world's best competitive and free surfing kind of bodyboarders there and to put on a show. And it's all done through camaraderie and trying to push the sport forward. You obviously want to win the event, but you want to push high performance bodyboarding and see what you can do out there. Where with the World Tour, you've got the journeymen that are keen to continually putting more notches on their belt and get more trophies in the cabinet. So it is that split decision of, like, do I pull away from the South American European Tour, spend more money to come down to Australia, possibly get knocked out in the first round, have no repercharge or no other bite of the cherry, and then just maybe have a trip around Oz and have some fun. It's a real hard one to be weighed up, like, both ways, if you know what I mean. But I think going back to your original question, I think what's next for the Shark Island Challenge Committee might not be so much more, with the original comp itself and the wave. We obviously want to improve on things, and I'm sure we're going to have a debrief and nut out, the 1%ers that we still need to improve on. There's always areas to improve on, but Sad, Sam and myself have discussed some other things possibly coming next year that could centre around various other competitions that might be popping up in the area at different locations with a slab-esque kind of vibe to them. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes.
I feel like you're baiting me there and there's something you want to say, but you're not really willing to say.
There's one big thing that we'll need for that to happen, but it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
Definitely not out of the question. It's just something that's been chatted about, and because of the success of these two comps, possibly having something else there to get the bodyboarding world smacking their lips towards. You know what I mean? We'll just have to say.
Epic. And again, a great segue to what I want to talk about next. It's just the overall vibe within the community, particularly at the event. Like huge crowds again, locals right behind it. I mean, I saw something pretty funny. It was an actual, like a stand-up surfboard with "Go Liam" written on it. Like, you know, it's conflicting, but you know, that's epic. But just overall epic vibes. And I think first and foremost from my point of view, like just that webcast atmosphere was huge. It was just buzzing. It was beaming from the word get-go right through to the end. As an online spectator, we didn't get to see that community vibe on the beach though. Could you give us a bit of a rundown on that?
There's a lot of like the KK boys, the Hill boys, like Innovative Home Loans, Das Build Up, My Thread Built. Like the thing is when they come, like they're all there. They were there with their wives, their kids, their employees. It was like an RDO for the company. So straight away, not only are they a financial sponsor, they're like a supportive social sponsor as well. To have, just everyone down and then everyone's telling their friends, like mums at school have no idea. Oh, how's this story? One of the mums at school said to my wife, Sarah, my sons want to have the day off school tomorrow, but I don't know if I believe them. And my wife goes, oh, what do they need the day off for? Oh, apparently there's this big international surfing comp on tomorrow, but I think he's just making it up. And my wife goes, yeah, that's the Shark Island Challenge. Oh, so it's a real thing. Yeah, apparently we all have to go down there tomorrow afternoon.
That's so good. Even the general public, eh?
Yeah. They like didn't even know what it was, but we're going. Like straight away, I was like, oh, that's a really good box to tick. You know, they have no idea, but they know they just can't miss it.
Yeah. I had people coming out of the woodwork saying things just randomly. Like I even had like my next door neighbors who don't like bodyboarding at all, or they have no interest in it. Not like dislike it, just have no interest. And it's like they were glued to the TV for the entire day with the production that was put on, just entertained. You know what I mean? Not knowing anything about the sport, but just actually entertained. So it's huge boxes ticked there, as you said, just making sure the general public is involved. Like we've got a really good standing within the boo community, and we all know how great the competition is, but to be able to make it more out of the mainstream, you know, even furthering on from that ABC story that we were lucky enough to be involved in throughout the year, like those little things are all waves that are getting, you know, sent out further out into the multiverse, so to speak, or, you know, the world kind of business ecosystem. And I feel like they're getting noticed as a viable, you know, option, as in to go watch and enjoy, or a viable option to get involved with, to become like a sponsor or a partner. So it's it's a lot of work, those local sponsors, and SADS does so much work on that and absolutely nails it. He's the go-getter there and the absolute.
No, we all do.
No, I know, but you know, you're very persistent and very.
I don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, you just are hungry and like get it done. But I mean, that's a lot of work. But then also too, it creates a lot of different networks and avenues, and more people hear about these two different businesses instead of one or two large sponsors. Yes, it's more work, but you're getting further reach to those smaller businesses, and it's just pretty much community based.
The fact of the matter that this event has now become a household name is that's the success right there.
You're right, Benny. Yeah. You could say the Pipe Pro or the Pipe Classic or whatever. You say it to people and they're going to know it. But you say the Shark Island Challenge, and hopefully that's getting on the same page.
I'm going to ask one real quick question around the vibe, because I know MC Tezza was screaming his lungs out the whole day. What was his reaction like when, you know, there were 10s? Like, I know he gets excited when there's a 10.
You know better than me, Sazzy. I might have been I was in the booth when that happened. What was he losing it on land?
Yeah, he was so stoked. He was so animated. Like, you know, he's the best at it, right? So he's already very, very good at his job. But to have his level of enthusiasm and passion was like, he was just so stoked. And then when, like, you know, to catch up with people like Mike that he hasn't seen in so many years, and like Mike's sitting in the booth with him, like, I think just to be in around remember like the APB days, like I think it flooded back a lot of memories for him and a lot of networking connections. And he was really, really in his element. It was really nice to see. And, he deserves that as well. So it was great.
Awesome. I guess I'm really keen to now just pick your brains about what's next. I know it's fresh. We're not even a week post 2025 Shark Island Challenge. And I know you guys are going to have a lot of debriefing over the coming months, but what are the key takeaways for you guys, so far, that it's not about looking at things that went wrong or things that you can improve on, but like, I know you guys, you both are creative, bunch of dudes. So I know those brains are just going to be firing on all synapses. Like, what do you think you want to do next year to make it bigger and better again? Pretty obvious that event is going to keep people involved in bodyboarding without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. If we, we improve, an X amount of percentage, and we can definitely improve that X amount of percentage again. Luke and I had a chat today, actually, like we do every 3 hours every day, and Sam as well. But Sam's actually, he had to fly over for a quick shoot to Fiji. Otherwise, he'd be on this with us. We're actually saying today, the way to improve things is by being obviously more inclusive. So the way to be more inclusive is possibly, I'm just throwing this out, what we were talking about today, possibly have 4 trialists available for the competition. So therefore, the trials will become a 2-day event. And I think to have 4 trialists into one of the most prestigious events in the world is huge. And that'll attract a lot of riders, a lot of good riders. And therefore, that moves everything in the right direction again. And then possibly, budget pending, can we run a 2-day event? And then can we have seeding? Like, there is opportunities there with, like, we've got the right networking. We just need to obviously get some budget increases from external sources. But we feel things like that can definitely do a real big boost. And then obviously Luke keeps talking about wanting to run a second comp somewhere. Like that would be wild. Like, that's, I don't know if that'll happen next year, but it's on the cards to happen, in the future for sure. But yeah, I think if we can make the trials bigger, then the event's bigger, and it sort of snowballs from there.
Yeah, I totally agree, Sadsy. I think they are great points, and that is very inclusive, bringing everyone together through that kind of networking, especially with the 4 trialists. That's very important to get that more kind of community inclusivity. But I think the other thing we could really try and focus on, it's a pretty main goal, and it's something we want to achieve most years, but now I think with a bit more of a standing behind us, it's achievable. Just more international love. Like we discussed, obviously it is a little bit harder for people to commit and come over, but that decision needs to be made, and that decision kind of needs to, be taken seriously by the crew that actually are going to come and compete. So when we do call it, and we would like, their attendance, they have promised that they do drop everything and come and actually, make sure we're first priority instead of second or third on that list. Everyone's got obviously various responsibilities throughout life, but if you're saying that you're keen to come and compete in an international bodyboarding competition at one of the world's greatest waves, then, uphold your word, and you'll be coming out every year.
Yeah, for sure. Any lessons learned? Again, I don't think there were any real downfalls or errors. I mean, the only thing I read about today, I heard Shawnee had a bit of an incident with one of his drones from Heli Drone, which is something that, again, is completely out of your control. That sucks.
Yeah, we're trying to mitigate that as best we could. We're definitely threatening over the PA to shoot down the other drones.
Yeah.
But the only way that we could figure it out was because we would have said 15 times, like, have some respect for the event. Like, people are here paying money. Like, we've got a $20,000 drone out there. Like, It's dangerous. If that drone hits Peto's drone, it falls down and hits someone swimming,
Yeah.
like it's super dangerous. Like I don't think people see the risk factor of having two drones out there. But yeah, how do we find where the drone operators? People trying to wait for the drones to go in, you have to follow back where the operator is situated. But we're a bit busy to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And you shouldn't have to do that. It's that simple.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
What else, Sadsy, do you reckon? I mean, we haven't really fully debriefed, but I'm thinking just on the day.
what I reckon, what have caught us out a bit both years actually. We have to, although it's hard, we have to be, if the live stream's fully set up earlier or the night before, because when we're there, right, and it's pumping from 8 o'clock, but let's go live stream 8 o'clock then. Don't worry about 10 o'clock. Let's go 8 o'clock. That's good now.
Yeah.
Although obviously it was sketchy, but there was some pretty crazy moments, like that one that Donnie Bassett got during the when Craig was doing the judging criteria, and Donnie Bassett got like wave of the day.
Did he? I didn't get to see it. Was it hectic?
Yeah, I'll show you a photo of it. I don't really want to release it.
Yeah. Okay. That good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, Tezza was losing it over the mic too. But yeah, just be a bit more available to pull the trigger when we want, not when you're ready. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But it's just hard because the event gets called the day before, and there is a lot of setup. It does take 3 hours to set up. So,
but even the moving parts too, like even Craig, like for example, we had to spot Craig's flight to go back up to
Goldie?
judge the IBC comp the next day, because obviously his travel plans need to be changed and backwards and forwards, and he's got to assemble a team that's available at the time, and then Tezza with the PAs then got to make sure he's not double booked with another Surfing New South Wales, Surfing Australia event. So to your point, Sadsy, I agree totally. That's just a lot harder. Easier said than kind of done, if you know what I mean.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that is something to aim for sure. And also getting the Airbnb and kind of having that time frame to be able to kind of bump in and bump out. I think getting it the day before worked really well, but if you could have the live feed maybe set up, as you said, that night, working there with like Chris and everyone, that could...
Yeah, that's what the, sorry, it was purely the live stream that was a bit time consuming just because they didn't set up the day before. But that's little things like, it was put our foot down a bit more about that next year.
Yeah.
But there's not really things, I don't know, like it definitely ran a fair bit smoother than the year before.
But I think once we go over the analytics and maybe like, even our budget and what we spent and everything, I'm sure there'll be little things. I guess it's just harder to say now because the dust hasn't fully settled.
No.
Yeah, things will pop up.
I think the only piece of feedback, and it is fully constructive, it's not negative at all, and as animated as it was to have Jack Baker excited in the live webcast booth. Yeah, I think he needs to sign an NDA before he goes on
Oh, really?
It was so rogue. I actually came back in after my break and I was like, Baker's on the live feed. Like, how did he get on? And then I'm just hearing things in the background of like, fuck this and bit of meat there. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh goodness, what has he said in the last 20 minutes that has started the whole organisation?
Yeah. I haven't, because I wasn't on the live stream, I've only watched tiny little snippets. So
It was supposed to be, you had 4 heats lined up.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, I just mean I missed a lot of the live stream, so I have to go back to and watch a lot of it.
It's animated. It's very animated.
It might partly be my fault because he asked me, can I jump on the stream? Oh, yeah, sweet. He goes, can I have a beer? Oh, yeah, it's fine. He goes, can I have a couple of beers? Oh, mate, just go.
Just get out of my hair, yeah.
Just go, all good. So I did give him the nod.
I know, and when you give Jack the nod, he goes with it. He runs with it 110%. There's no holding back with Jack Baker.
Lads, we're going to move into a couple little kind of quick fire round questions before we wrap this thing up. I know it's late. We're all family men. Just a bit of, light-hearted stuff for you guys. And I know you've got to be non-biased, but the day's done now. I'll start with you first, Sadzi. What was the favourite heat for you throughout the day? I mean, the final
Favourite heat?
Yeah, I mean the final itself was as good as a final gets, but outside of that, what was your favourite?
My favourite heat was heat 1. It just, the emotions that it had when Anthony Miller was just getting flogged. Jack was like, was that heat 1? Was Anthony Miller heat 1? No, sorry.
No.
It was Sam Strachan, Jack Baker, Chris James, Liam O'Toole.
Yep, that was heat 1. Yep.
That was heat 1. Yeah.
Tooley was on fire.
Oh, wasn't he? And I was so stoked for him. And I'm like, really good mates with Jack and Sam, but I'm like, I just want to see this guy go pretty well too. And yeah, Jack got a couple. I watched it today. He got a couple of decent ones, but just couldn't quite get together. Chris James got a real big decent one, and he just got clipped on a step at the end. Sam surfed really well all day. Yeah, I don't know. Just
heat
that,
1 just set the scene.
It did. Tooley was just like tearing, and I was like, I don't, because I only just met him like at the trials. Straight away we hit it off, and I was like, I like this guy. This is what we want around the comp, especially like when he flew back down from Urban Surf and that. Yeah, just that first heat was just, it was me. Tick the box.
What about you, Lukey?
Yeah, I think my favourite, you're talking about favourite heat?
Favourite heat?
Yeah, I would say Sammy Shacken's quarterfinal, to go back on Sads' point. Sam's competed in 7 Shark Island challenges, and this is his best result. And it was great to see a man who is filled with so much skill and so much talent realise some of that against the world's best, moving deeper into the draw. From a local perspective, I've grown up with Sam as of Sads for a number of years, and you can see how talented he is. He's a very, very talented bodyboarder. Things haven't fully gone his way, and he was probably coming up at a time when the sport was going the other way, and we could go over that till we're black and blue. But to watch him build a house, kind of control the heat after getting a really good solid score at the start, and then knowing
it's like an 8.3. Hey,
yeah, I loved it. And he went back out the back and waited for another solid score, and just his heat IQ and his maturity really showed during that quarter, and I was loving it more so from a personal perspective, just knowing Sam so well, that like he put it all together and was going really well, and really was in his semi. He, in hindsight, I mean, being harsh or whatever, he probably should have done better and made 2 of those 4 waves that he had a chance of getting. And if he did make those 2, you would have definitely saw him in the final. Sorry, so. It's kind of the one that got away a little bit there, but at the same time, his performance out the whole comp was epic. In his quarterfinal, I loved how he put that together. So that was my favourite heat for sure.
I liked, sorry, can we just go back a bit? I liked John Scholl and Harley's first heat. That they were surfing tough. They were surfing strong, good barrels, good rolls. They're both, really, really good bodyboarders. And I like seeing those 2 get through. That was good.
Oh, they're animals for sure. Johnny Shao, I guess, winning the Ringer award and having that famous wipeout over Peak when he just overcommitted on one, showed how much he wanted it, eh?
Yeah, and a couple of those heavy ones that he didn't get through, he was a bit behind. Not his fault, but they were heavy commitment waves. There's probably 3 in his quarter, I think.
I swear to God, he was just going them because he wanted to. He didn't even care. He was like, I'm just going this wave. And it's like, yeah.
He was surfing like a free surf because that's what he does, eh?
Yeah, it's sick. He's such a good bodyboarder to watch.
So that, again, next question for me is heaviest wipeout. So are you guys both in agreement for Johnny, or are you kind of going back to the Jaces? Although it, probably didn't look that bad, but I guess the result of that wipeout had a far greater consequence.
I'll throw a spanner in the works here. J-Rom's backflip.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Into the flats. And he chipped his tooth. That was
true.
Crazy, huge. It was unlandable. It was so sick. It was so big. Yeah, that was really, really impressive. Even for him, he's impressive anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to think. I mean, the image that keeps coming back to my head when I think about the worst wipeout, it might not have been so much the wave. The wave definitely flogged him, but it was more so the aftermath. It was Osler crawling his way over surge as literal water drained away from, the inches that were left drained away from him, and he was left with just barnacle encrusted rocks to crawl across to somehow meet this wave and get out of the impact zone over surge. It was incredible to watch and to see the footage of, and I think anyone who's been in that situation knows how hectic that is. And to see it in a competition with everything on the line was probably more intense. So I really enjoyed that.
He hit his shoulder really bad. He surfed before the comp and he came around at East one and it bottomed out on him and he got thrown over the shock. He hit his shoulder really bad. He wasn't himself on Friday.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't want to, I could see it in his face and he was his shoulder was dropped a bit. I didn't want to draw attention to it for him. But, I think he probably shouldn't have surfed before his heat on low tide.
Well,
I think.
Sorry, you go, Benny.
No, you go. You go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and another thing I don't want to draw attention to for Michael, which I'm happy to do so anyway because I enjoy taking the mickey out of him greatly, is him drinking a can of Coke in the channel between
so funny.
quarter and the semi-final, and I could not believe that the camera kept going back to him with that fucking can of Coke because Michael's got a huge complex about Coke and how he's been teased before about drinking.
Oh, mate.
And he hates it. I think Desi got in his ear and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, it's a running joke. But when I saw him smashing that Coke in the channel, I was like, this could not be scripted any fucking better.
Mate,
He's used him.
He wasn't
like the most
smashing it.
addictive trick in the world just to fucking pep himself back up again. I was loving it. It was true Safa style.
He was drinking it like it was a hot latte. It was these little,
he's
gentle sips.
He definitely does some feminine things, that's for sure.
Hey, I just want to throw in probably a notable mention, not really just for a heavy wipeout, but again, the commitment in that heat and in copping a few on the head is Sophie Leathers. There was the wave that she almost got guillotined, but she did end up on the inside. Took it like a champ. Like she was fist pumping. Like she was calling that washer to come to her. Like it's like, okay, good for you.
Yeah, it was so cool to see. Yeah. And she was kicking so hard to get onto that thing, eh? She just didn't stop. She's like, I'm going anyway.
Final question for you boys on this. Who's the one to watch in 2026?
Oh.
Too soon?
No. Let's,
the obvious one is Louis. I'll say that straight off the bat. That's the obvious one.
And Marley'd have to be in there too. Those two were super clinical all day. Marley got a bit unlucky in the semis. He was super sick all week actually too. He had a bad flu.
And think about Marley Sads. Comes up in 2024, never surfed the island, gets to the final, gets hit into fourth by Oster doing that roll. And then you've got 2025, just gets pipped in the semi-finals due to maybe a couple of lackluster waves. And he could have been back-to-back finals 2 years in a row. Without really surfing the place. Like, he's a freakish talent.
He's making really good ground.
To say who to watch out for, like, oh, mate, Lester got knocked out first heat. Jack Baker got knocked out first heat. Sean Pine got knocked out first heat. So, it's Mike won. It's anyone's game. Ben Sawyer won last year. It is anyone's game. Let's see who the four trialists are, judging by what Limo Tool did.
Jack, if you're listening, mate, you cost me $50, buddy. I had my money on you for the local underdog to take it out. So I'll hunt him down.
And one other person to watch maybe next year or the years to come if we can get him over here, especially with the old slogan, age shall not weary them, is Jeff Hubbard. He needs to come back and surf the island.
Yeah, we need him back.
Yeah, again, I mean, family reasons prevented him from making this trip. But, man, I bet you that cuts him deep to know that, the guy that took his spot won the thing, right? Like, that's got to hurt.
It's pretty crazy the way that worked out. Mike was here when we were like, we got one spot. Very lucky.
Yeah, it was a good fill, boys. Good fill.
Who knows who could have got that spot?
Hey, all right, fellas. So let's wrap this out. This is basically just a little bit of an opportunity for you guys to thank anyone that you need to and may not have already throughout the potty. feel free to give as many plugs as you want for, further marketing purposes. We know that the full high res highlights are now up via the appropriate YouTube channels. Shout out to all the crew that supported the event, and whatever else you want to say.
Yeah, our biggest shout out would have to be to our three amigos, Sam Van, who's not here with not here with us. He's not dead.
He's not a real person, is he? Because he can never make the potties.
He's the gel with us. He's so good. He's so relaxed. He's so professional. He's got so many good networking contacts. He's so good on all our graphics and designs. Nothing's an issue with him. He's a real pleasure to have on the team. And yeah, he's irreplaceable. So he'd be the number one for us for sure.
But then with thanking everyone else that came together for the comp, talk about Brad Whitaker, ex-head of lifeguards and now marine safety. He was huge in the water. Kip Caddy out there was amazing. Dylan and Summer Longbottom, two of surfing's icons, came and hung out in the channel, helped ferry people around all day. The council lifeguards, they were absolutely ridiculous ways. The Southern Shire Council in general, they've obviously allowed us to run the event and they've been huge with, making sure that we're well within their strict guidelines and regulations of the event. So we got that sorted. And just the general Boo community, from Dean Ferguson at Secret Samacha to Toby Player at Bodyboard King, Mez, Ben and Dave and Rion over at NMD, the boys at Bolter Beers, you could just go on and on, Ridges Hotel, Surfing New South Wales. There were literally hundreds of people that came together in one way or another to make this event happen. So,
Cold Coast as well, Cooper, Idris, Brendo,
huge.
Declan, Woodall.
Yeah.
They're really huge help. All Craig's judging team. Tezza, Declan, already said Declan. Everyone. Trent deserves a big shout out.
Huge. Trent Beatty.
So Trent does all those good reel edits and all the interviews. And he's not a bad bodyboarder too. He's super passionate, super professional, really good down to earth guy. And just he pumped out. So he filmed for the event. He filmed 12 hours straight. And then he worked on the edit for the highlight clip. That 20-minute clip took 18 hours. So he worked 30 hours in 2 days during the event. He got that clip out. I think we thought at 4 p.m. Sunday, that clip was fully finished.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, and that's a weekend. That's his weekend off. So, that's super impressive. And Danksy, the edits with him as well. Very good crew and keen to move forward with people like that.
Agreed. Here.
Cheers, boys. Cheers. I know you've run out of bolters, but I've still got plenty in my fridge, so I'll drink some in your honour.
Oh, drink up for us, Benny.
Hey, once again, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the both of you for giving up your time so late in the evening. I've been in your shoes before where, it takes a long time to unwind after putting so much blood, sweat, tears and energy into these events. Again, for me, what you guys put together was an absolute masterpiece, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the entirety of the bodyboarding community. If there's anyone that wasn't happy with what went down on the weekend, they need to take up warm bowls.
Thanks, mate. We really appreciate being on with you. You're a big part of the community, and you give up a lot of time for us, and we'll do the same for you, mate. Cheers.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Benny. Frothing. Love the closeout potty. It's a regular. Let's keep them going.
Awesome. We'll get some rest and look forward to touching base again soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Big shout out to everyone at the closeout. Shano, Watto, MJ, Sammy, Rob Porteous, etc. You.